Welcome back, 412-575-2600, on the Borders and Borders hotline. Josh Taylor, Paul Zeise here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Paul, we'll start out with Jason on Twitter, who says the Pirates need to use the #1 overall pick to draft an elite pitcher who they would not be able to obtain in a trade or free agency. Now, I agree with that statement. It would be good to have an elite pitcher, especially one you couldn't get in a trade or free agency. But the question is, which one's the elite one?
And they might be able to get one in a trade if they're trading for a guy who's in Double-A. An elite pitcher who's in Double-A or whatever. To me, I would not use the #1 pick on a pitcher. I know that, there are some guys that are great, but there are too many things happen nowadays, Josh, with arm trouble and all the other stuff. And here's the other thing. The way pitching is going, the days of the ace, quote-unquote, pitcher that goes 8 innings and is your stopper and all the other stuff every 5 days is just dominant, those days are gone. Let's face it. Baseball's played differently nowadays. So, if you're telling me 25 years ago, I've got a guy like, Rocker or Leiter or somebody like that sitting there that I think, hey, this guy can be my, the horse that we ride. It's a little different. But, Josh, they don't let these guys go more than 5 innings anymore. They don't want them to. They all want to have, 5-inning guys that are basically openers. And, they have all these analytics. And now we're talking about 6-man rotations and all the other stuff. To me, they have devalued the idea of having an ace pitcher. And so why would you go and use the #1 pick on one of those guys? At least, to me, if you get a position player, you're talking about somebody that's going to have an impact every day, and they're not going to yank them after 4 innings or 5 innings.
I'd make the case as far as pitchers go, and I'll use the current crop of pitchers right now in MLB. There aren't many that really are that good to go that deep anymore. You got maybe Jacob deGrom. Granted, Justin Verlander, when he was healthy, he was one of those guys. Max Scherzer is one of those guys. You can make a case for Garrett Cole. There aren't many left now that are that good to go that deep and be that dominant on a regular basis, taking the ball every 5th day. The #1 A1 that comes to my mind is Jacob deGrom, and he's becoming a fading novelty, to your point. The other thing I will mention, I was one of those people throughout the course of this season. I felt that Jack Leiter should have been the guy. And as this season went along, I saw more and more, and I'm starting to wonder, well, maybe Henry Davis is the guy. And then you see some of the ratings and some of the scouting services say Marcelo Mayer, the shortstop from California out of high school, he's the #1 guy. Which leads me to believe 2 things. 1, no one knows who the #1 guy is. And 2, the Pirates haven't figured out yet what they're going to do. That's kind of where I'm stuck now. So it does stand to reason, yeah, getting a pitcher at #1 makes a lot of sense. But the truth of the matter is, history tells you that drafting college pitchers that high doesn't always work out so well. Now, where it does seem to actually benefit you a lot more drafting #1, to your point, Paul, is drafting a position player. That seems to have a little bit more success. And this is kind of a small sample, I'll admit to it. There's only 2 guys drafted #1 that have ever been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Ken Griffey Jr. and Chipper Jones, and they were both, within the last couple of years? There's probably a reason behind that. #1s do not hit all the time. We got John in Pittsburgh. John, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, hi, guys. Paul, I agree with everything you said about the Pirates. I have one question. I'm trying to find out, do you know what tonight's attendance was? Because they were giving away cars and houses, and it looked like the stands are still pretty empty.
I have the answer to that question. This is per the box score. 15,421. That was the attendance for this evening. And when you have a ballpark like PNC Park that holds nearly 40, that's not going to look too great.
For a Friday night game on a holiday weekend.
Yep.
That's kind of telling you what, I know everybody lost their mind last night because of the attendance was, like 12,000. But that was a Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And so, tonight's attendance is a lot more alarming than last night's. And quite frankly, I would assume, I don't know, Josh, but is there fireworks tomorrow or whatever? Or are they waiting till Sunday? If there's not fireworks tomorrow night, are we going to legitimately see a Saturday night game in July on a beautiful day that's probably going to be 75, 80 degrees out, that there's going to be 15,000, 20,000 there? That is a really, really bad sign.
To answer your question, I believe it's fireworks tomorrow and Kids Day is on Sunday. I believe that's what it is. if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
And then the whole point fireworks thing is Sunday night, right? So
that sounds about right.
So if you live on Mount Washington, you get fireworks 2 nights in a row. Good.
Or if you live anywhere in town, you get them regardless because people were setting them off already. So there's that too.
Yes. If you live in Blawnox, people are firing them at your house probably.
Oh, my poor dog is just tortured right now. Pete in Squirrel Hill. Pete, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, guys, how are you? And happy holiday weekend to you and your family.
Thanks, Pete.
Hey, Josh, was tonight dollar hot dog night? That's why they had the big 15,000.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay.
Hey, listen, here's my point. On Wednesday night, Andrew Filipponi broke a story when he was on with Papiani. Did he heard from reliable sources that T. Brian Jones's camp isn't happy because the Pirates, they feel, called him up too late? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, his career batting average in the minors was .274, and he wasn't a run producer. He didn't hit the ball over the wall. He didn't drive in runs, okay? So with that in mind, you can't look by the .274 career average. So that's his fault. He writes his own resume. It's not on the Pirates, right?
Two things. One, if we're still evaluating players by their batting average in 2021, then we took a really big break from watching baseball. Number two, Brian Hayes missed how much of the season, Paul? He missed a good bit, right? Like, he got hurt with this second game of the season?
Here's the larger thing. Who is he represented by?
That's a good question. I used to know the answer to that. But it's not Scott Boras, if that's who you're thinking.
No, I mean, he's represented by one of those guys like that.
It's one of the bigger agencies. Yes, this is true.
Does Pete understand the idea of trying to get leverage? You know, and also trying to win a public relations war by saying, you know, oh, well, you know, they held us down in the minors too long, and that's why now we're not going to sign a long-term deal. I mean, listen.
It's happened before, by the way.
Here's the thing. The Pirates are no different than 80, 90% of the rest of the league. There is a certain formula they have for how long they want guys to be in the minors and to be in the majors. They want guys to come up to the majors who they're then going to be able to start their clock and maximize the amount of time they have them before they got to sign them to a second deal or trade them. It's a very simple process. He could have hit 474, and he wasn't coming up before they brought him up. So that whole storyline is silly to me.
I remember distinctly a couple years back, Scott Boras raising the huge stink because the Cubs didn't bring up Chris Bryant. It happens literally everywhere. Every team in MLB at least once in the past few years, I say even in the past decade, so make sure you encompass all 30, have waited to bring up a guy. To Paul's point, why? Because it saves you a year of MLB service time, so that way they don't become Super 2 guys or arbitration guys a year early. It gives them another year of cost control, team control, and they don't have to pay them for a year later and they kick the can down the road. It is something that literally happens in every day. The Pirates are no different. We got to take a break. We'll answer more phone calls when we come back. Stick around.